You're watching Experience Comic Culture and Sales. Streaming live daily to Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter.
2, 1.
Welcome to Minute to Skim It. We read some cool books.
I even
chit chat with a friend of mine who actually wrote one of the books I read today. So I'm just going to heads up for you guys. You know what? Creators are out there in a vacuum. They write a book. They don't see it on the stands until months and months and months later. They don't know if they did a good job or not. Just tag them and write them or direct message them or just make a post of your own and be like, I like this book this week. Because oftentimes they have no idea if it was a good book until you tell them.
My note is, if you're going to directly message them, make sure they're not on the other side of the universe and you're not messaging them at 4 a.m.
Nonsense, my friends in the UK.
No, I apologize to David Hazen, who is in Australia, who is much further behind us than that.
Okay, that might be bad. I think it's an emergency.
Let's get to it, Jay.
Woohoo!
Kind of a light week for the two of us, though. Like, between the two of us. Normally we read like 30 books between the two of us. We didn't this week.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't for lack of things.
Well, on my end, it was. It was for lack of balance. So we start off with a Nancy Boys #3, Mark Bernardin, Sean Martinborough, based off the original Neil Gaiman novel. We meet Fat Charlie's brother finally.
Oh, wow.
Right. And if you recall, in the novel and thus far in the series, it's been pretty, this is what happens when your dad dies, and your dad is technically an old god, but you don't know that he's an old god because, well, you haven't really had the best relationship. Then your brother, whose name is Spider, shows up. And Spider is like Jason Momoa.
How so? In what way?
Every way. Just a god in their own right. Like, a new god. With old world god kind of methodology.
All right.
What up, Jeremy Holt over on Instagram? Jeremy Holt, great creator over there. What's up, buddy? Okay, so back to this. Fat Charlie is, he's trying to figure out how to be who he is. Like, he's not good with women. He's not good with anything. And his brother is good with all of that. And when you meet him in the book, that's when things get off the rail and the whole being the sons of the trickster god really come into play. So this is, I would say, the last issue of figuring her out that you're going to get, because you're about to fall off the edge of the world in this book, and it's going to be super fun.
By the way, David Mack killing it with those covers, man.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, also, I always believe his covers are Illuminati confirmed because he loves triangles.
He does love triangles. Well, triangles are nice shapes.
They're friendly triangles.
Right.
Hey, here's the book that I messaged the creator on. Okay. Absolute Power is an amazing series that's been running through almost every title that DC is doing right now. DC's been very kind to us. They have this big overarching story, but they're slow rolling a lot of other titles. So you don't, it doesn't break your bank every week. So you can actually enjoy this for what it is and not have a million other things coming at you. Thank you, DC, for paying attention to that for everyone's pocketbooks. and for their ability to like read a million titles. There are two main absolute power kind of books this week, and I'll make one more tie-in, I think. This one focuses on the most important part, I feel like, which is this Amazo or Amazo. We'll have to ask someone how to actually pronounce it.
Amazo.
Is it Amazo? I'll take it. Amazo, which are basically big robot guys. In this case, Amanda Waller's been sending them out to go and kind of like capture all the powers of the superheroes and then taking the superheroes and putting them in prison. I don't know. I don't know what she's going to do with them. You know, she's all about power control. And in this case, this Amazo is going after all the speedsters. So the story is literally about him has basically acquired the power of all of the speedsters there are except for one, Barry. So this is him kind of running through all of the abilities he's gotten from the speedsters and trying to figure out why Barry can stay just like 1 millisecond ahead of him, and why would he even care? He knows that the jinx is up. He's going to get caught at some point. So this is like a real heartfelt story. This is like really, really, there is a point to why, and you figure out just how smart Barry is. This is really, really cool because on both sides, for the Amazo and for him, they are both trying to figure out this big motivation. So love it.
To answer Triple B, no. Tom Hutchison's Big Dog Inc. Fantasy League, which features many people you know from the experience. Just throw that out there. Myself, Dan Wickline, Bronze Age Nerd, several others. We draft the 29th because with a league as crazy as the scoring is in this one and as few bench players as you're going to be able to get, you have to, what's the one for? Draft at the last possible second. To get an invite, there would have to be open space, and I'm pretty sure it's full. But shoot me an email, Triple B, Kyle at theexplive.com, and I'll see what I can do. Okay, Cult of the Lamb. 2 Alex Pagnadell books back to back.
Yeah!
So I finally watched the cartoon. Like of Cult of the Lamb.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes this book make a lot more sense.
I thought it was just a video game. There's an actual video.
There are cartoons too. It is a multi-platform deal.
Wow.
And in the cartoon I was watching, they were talking about how one of the character pooped on their food.
Oh my gosh.
And how they were just going to eat it off the ground. And the lamb was like, no, you don't have to eat the poop off the ground. Well, I'll still eat the poop. Just put it in a bowl. Like, it turned into this whole thing where it's like, oh, this is some irreverent humor that is also perfect for the 7-year-old in me.
Poop.
Right. And then it's because they're children, basically. They all want poop in bowls for dinner. Right. So in this book, they're dealing with a food shortage. And I just kept waiting for this joke to come up. And it didn't, thank God. But in this, it really is coming down to the lamb to sort of like be a cult leader or get off the pot. And he's having to figure out how, and this is the first issue I've read of this where it's not a lot of like slashiness, right? There's not a lot of murder, death, kill, or any of that kind of stuff. There's just a lot of, well, this guy passed out because he hasn't eaten in days because he's trying to be, make sure everybody else has enough. But like, if you don't take care of yourself, how do you take care of everybody? And it just turns into this weird sort of, conundrum that the leader of any group is going to have to deal with. But when you're the leader of a cult of cute but stabby woodland creatures, it's even more weird. So this was just super fun in that regard as well. So really enjoying this series. I think we're gonna have to get Alex Pagnadell on Talking Shop one of these weeks to be like, okay, so now that you've got like 35 books coming out, like, when do you sleep and stuff like that? So be looking out for that one.
Welcome in, Diggs. Okay, so yeah, Frankenstein. So, okay, so Image Skybound has been doing this Universal Monsters thing. So they did Dracula first, which a lot of people kind of missed because it was a quiet launch. And then they did the Swamp Thing, right? And that was a complete sellout. That was like a big deal. So
Wait,
people
was a Swamp
now,
Thing or was it Creature from the Black Lagoon?
Creature of Black Lagoon. Thank you. Sorry, my brain was
Swamp
just
Thing is a DC character, not a Universal monster.
I said it, but my brain was like going searching. Item not found. 404. This is the third. So people are probably paying attention. So the only way anyone has gotten this before now is I think that there was a couple copies that were released as like variants at Comic-Con. So you might have read this book if you were lucky enough to grab one of those. But this is everything that you really want. And I don't want to rehash Frankenstein's story, please. Thank you. Don't do that again. This one is very sweet. This one, it is also, you guys know, I like books that feature broken characters or, tragedy or like really tug at your heartstrings. So this one is like that, where it's from the point of view of a little boy whose dad has died, and his dad is also harvested. Part of his dad is harvested for the Frankenstein monster. So that is as much as I'm going to tell you, because I don't want to rob you of the joy of reading this book. It's really, really great. The art is terrific. The art is represented on the cover there, so it's not like a different style in the book. And I do recommend it, especially if you're a Universal monster person. It's a refreshing look at this creature and the Doctor, of course.
Hello, darkness, my old friend. This book was way too long again.
Oh my gosh.
So here's the deal. This is an anthology series that doesn't need to be. In this book, you had a bunch of stories that were in short form. The first book had a real nice manga feel. Then you had some stuff that felt like webtoon style stories. Then you had some stuff that felt like maybe pulp and older comics. The only one in this book that feels like it could be an ongoing story is the last one, and it's the Garth Ennis. I forget who the artist is on it. Give me a second here. But the Garth Ennis story, The War. Becky Cloonan is the artist.
Oh, perfect. Wow.
Right. It's so good. That could be 32 or 24 or whatever page books on its own. I think the other stuff that's happening in it is interesting, but that the fact that I had to read 24 pages to get to the best part of the book, and in fact, the only part of the book that I really care about, is hard for me.
Well,
right?
But that's what's cool about anthologies like this. Like what could be your jam, which is Ennis, might not be my jam. My jam might be Tinian.
That's what I'm saying, is take these out, split this out, and let some of these things be their own stories. Let some of these things be their own series and see how they do. Because I think some of the pulp story that's in here, I think if you did it as almost like a Titan style hard case book, would do well.
Mm-hmm.
I think the story that starts it, and I can't remember the name of it, could totally be its own like Americanized manga, right? The Something is Killing the Children little mini stories that are in here could just be in Something is Killing the Children. Like, you're not going to sell people on some of this other stuff by burying it between Tinian and Garth Ennis. Right? That's the problem, is that these other stories that, like the Andy Lanning stuff that's in here, is really interesting. The Clown. And Krampfgeist. Like, are two of the other stories. They're real interesting, but you need to let him breathe and get away from the bigger names around him. And I think it's suffocating some of the small stories people wanting to read, the Tinian and the Ennis. So, other than that, I think it was a really good book. I think it's a really easy read for some pretty heavy topics, some pretty gruesome books. So,
like that dress. I don't think
I couldn't pull it off, but I don't have the arms for it.
She have flaps. Like my
Yeah.
mom. The one thing that I don't think I'm going to get is a Dow trait. Yay! Okay. All right, Convert. Oh man, this is everything that I love in science fiction. This is, it feels a lot like Divinity, which is that first book where the astronauts get kind of like marooned on that faraway world. Then they get godlike powers. That's not the way this works out. But this guy gets marooned. He's actually on an expedition. I don't know what planet. I don't know how far away it is from where he lives. He is sitting outside his ship doing what he's supposed to do. They actually sent him with a sketch pad because they're like, hey, if technology fails you, you can always draw on this drawing pad and eventually we'll be able to see all that cool stuff you're drawing. And he's out doing that when there's a critical failure with his ship, which kills the other astronauts that are with him. And the rest of the book is literally his journey of like, what is edible on this planet? Because I don't have anything to eat. What is drinkable on this planet? What won't make me sick? What will move slow enough that I could shoot it, even though I've never shot a gun before? This is just a heart-wrenching tale because it's neat. It's kind of seeing him get to the point where, like, he's malnourished. Is what he's seeing now real? What is he seeing that is actual stuff? So it doesn't feel fantasy. I don't want you to think that it's fantasy. I think that it is really, truly whatever his dying mind is doing to him. The mystery is he actually dying? Or is the fauna and flora, the air, whatever, is it just affecting him in a different way? I really love sci-fi when it gives you just enough to like, this might be the way it really goes down, but also how terrifying to be alone on a world. Ooh, Rocketeer.
All right, I'm going to say a thing, and then Jay is going to roll his eyes, and the rest of the world is going to roll their eyes.
Are we going to hear the rolling?
I'm going to be okay.
Okay.
I'm kind of tired of the Rocketeer having to fight Nazis.
Okay.
Can the Rocketeer, like, fight the mob or something for once? Like, it just feels like it's a one-note kind of story at this point. And I get it. In the era when the Rocketeer is supposed to take place, that is the big bad. But there are other big bads you could have him fight for one miniseries, right? Like the mob or
Stalin.
Human traffickers or, just a megalomaniac. So the Rocketeer is in San Francisco. And of course the Nazis try to blow up San Francisco because of course they do, because otherwise it wouldn't be a Rocketeer book. Does it make sense that the Nazis are trying to blow up San Francisco? No, it doesn't. But it's the Rocketeer, so he has to fight him. And it's, that scene from Spider-Man No Way Home? Was that the last one?
I think so.
No Way Home? Where they're on the bridge. And Spider-Man it's every Spider-Man movie, really. Where he has to rescue a bunch of people from a bridge that's being attacked by... Yeah, that's the premise of this issue. Also, Peavy is trying to get with some guys, some friend of Betty's mom. Like, Betty and her friend and Cliff and Peavy are all in San Francisco staying with this girl's mom. And Peavy is trying to get with the mom. So there's like some old people romance, which is kind of weird because they're both real bad at it. So it's kind of like watching young children try to have ask each other out, but they're old people. So that's a fun side story. But yeah, this is just, how do I put this? This is very formulaic for a Rocketeer book. The first book of this wasn't, because it had this whole side story of somebody co-opting the Rocketeer for marketing purposes, and there's a Rocketeer float in a Thanksgiving Day parade and this kind of stuff. And instead of going that direction with it, they just immediately go back to, okay, the Nazis are going to try to blow stuff up and the Rocketeer has to fight them.
Ooh, how about Rocketeer fights Kaiju?
Again, in a 4-issue miniseries, that's fine with me. Right? Just something different for Cliff. And I mean, at this point, Cliff has been fighting the Nazis for longer than the Nazis existed. So I'll be right back. I need to get a drink of water.
Okay, go. I had mine delivered to me, so that's fine. Eric does such a good job in this. Okay, so it's essentially 2 stories. This series kind of deals with Moon Knights that are not the normal Moon Knight you're used to following. The first one does feel, though, that it's trying to talk about the Shroud. So it's the Shroud one, so it gives you a little bit of back history, what's going on with that character. And then it moves to a different time period, an older time period, which gives us a different Moon Knight. I'm not going to remember the name of the actual Moon Knight, but the name of the person that becomes him is some cool old name like Cassius or something like that. I'm going to be wrong about that, but it's really kind of cool how both of these storylines get you kind of what you need for Moon Knight. This is definitely not a necessary book for if you just want to read mainline Moon Knight. If you're a fan of the character in general, I enjoyed both stories. The second one actually much more weirdly than the first for me, because it is one of those like this guy gets kind of conscripted. He's like gets told he needs to go and fight this war for the Templars. He didn't want to do that, and then he gets asked by Khonshu to become his like Khonshu to like embody Khonshu, and he's like, no, I don't really want to do that either. That feels like doing the exact same thing, but it ends up that he really does in the end need to accept that gift, and because the being that he's been asked to fight. I mean, this takes place during a time when Abin Ben-Sur is around. If you know who that is, that's the Apocalypse. Yeah. So if you love Abin Ben-Sur, you will love the second story.
I thought when you put this title in the list that this was like a mistake. Like you got auto-corrected or something.
Oh, for Faces of the Moon Knight.
Yeah. And I'm like, okay, now I need to go read this.
Mm-hmm.
So this sounds exciting to me.
I think you'd like it, go. And
I'm not a big Moon Knight guy, so like, I'm excited. Okay, really. The polar opposite of Moon Knight is Grover. I'm very excited for the Oni Press Sesame Street books. And part of it is because I have a 4, almost 5-year-old nephew who this is just the right age for. But part of it is because sometimes you just need a book that is the opposite of the heavy, dark, scary mess that you're reading in everything else. And in this book, Grover just goes around Sesame Street figuring out how to help his friends have a good day. Grover wakes up and goes, it's a sunny day. It's going to be a good day. And then all of his friends are having bad days because they have stuff that's going wrong. And Grover figures out that, well, if the Count helps Big Bird and Big Bird helps the Count, well, then they could both solve their problems. And if Cookie Monster helps Elmo and Elmo helps Cookie Monster, well, then they can help their problems. And then, if Sherlock Holmes and Watson the dog help Oscar the Grouch, and they're all like, thank you, Elmo, for helping us have a good... It's just a great book. And, you get to figure out, a Cookie Monster's opinion, what the best combination of cookies and ice cream is. Because there is a correct answer if you're a Cookie Monster. Cookie! So, and like if you're looking at a tree going 1, two, and you can't reach the top of the tree, you definitely need Big Bird to help you. So, no, I did not read this just for an excuse to do my Sesame Street voices,
Yes,
but it doesn't hurt either. By
Monster
issue
at the
2,
end
I
of
will
this
have an
book.
Elmo impression.
The monster at the end of this book is the most fun book to read to another person. If you're serious and are like, oh, in the book, it's awesome.
Yeah, Jackson makes me read him the monster at the end of this book every time I see him.
Mm-hmm.
And he knows what's coming. He can read it himself.
Mm-hmm.
But because I act it out and do the voices, he always thinks it's the most fun. So,
challenge to adults, go find a copy of that book and just, become a kid again for 3 seconds.
It's true. Everyone should have one in their home. It should be mandatory. When I run for president, that'll be a law. Everyone has to own one copy of the monster at the end of this book.
Yep. And the digging is dog. It's important.
I don't know about the second one, but monster at the end of this book.
I read my copy to death. I still
Man, we went from time out. We went from hold on.
I did not make the order of this.
We went from Moon Knight, which is dark and like mysterious, to Sesame Street, which is anything but, to this.
Yeah.
Jay, I think I need to have Jenna have you evaluated.
Might have did it on purpose. I'm telling you, this might be one of the best covers that I've seen in a long time. And there's a lot of this art inside. Who is this cover? Is this DeCall? I can't remember who does this. It's killer. So this literally is like, it fits obviously in Venom War, but if this can't be main universe, cannot have implications. Like, just basically, other than killing a bunch of people, Venom zombies biting people and turning them also into Venom zombies. Wrap your mind around that. This also takes down some heroes that you will recognize. And at the end of this issue, it takes down a hero that you really recognize and then creates a whole new hero version that I think is the most clever. It's so cool. Oh, wait, no. Hold on. It doesn't create a new hero. There's another one that I read this week that also has the same kind of premise. This one does just take down major heroes. It's really a lot of this kind of cool art.
This cover is Juan Ferreira.
Oh, Ferreira, man.
There are also Chris Campagna and Federico Vicente covers. I personally am a fan of the Stormbreakers variant of this. Just because I have no idea what's happening, but that is an insane cover. Anyway.
Sorry if I'm antsy, y'all. I've got a cramp right behind my knee. There's no fix for it, so.
Well, and it's
wiggling.
The end of the world outside my window, so. I can literally hear the rain going parallel to the ground. Right?
Oh my gosh. Stay safe in there. If you need a duck and cover under your desk, just do it.
We're good. Okay. I forgot to read this one.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Is it a 2 or a 1?
This is a number 4.
4, okay.
So, here's what I'm going to tell you. Remember that this is a Soviet-era cop drama. This is Law and Order in Soviet Russia. But there's also, like, werewolves and stuff. Cryptids.
Ooh.
So, we meet this guy who's on the cover, who looks like Santa and sort of talks like Santa, but is legally not Santa because of the things he does with his axe. If Santa did that with an axe, the holiday would be very different. It would be much closer to Krampusnacht. Anyway, so we find this cabin in the woods where this guy is living at the end of issue 3. And this issue was to be sort of the explanation of this. So here's what I'm going to do for y'all. I will read this tonight, and I will post a Castle's Corner style short on our YouTube by Thursday to let you guys know what's up with Sanction number 4. That's my bad.
By the way, if you like this kind of like idea of evil kind of Santa, or like more adult Santa. Boom did a book probably 8 or 10 years ago called Klaus, which is phenomenal.
The other thing you can do if you're into weird Santa stuff, season 3 of Dimension 20 on Dropout TV, The Unsleeping City, is totally about having to rescue Santa from evil pixies.
Like you do.
Yeah, my bad on this one, guys. I got so into a couple of the other books that are coming that I completely forgot that I had this one to read. And
see, you didn't have as many fuzzy lollipops as you thought.
No, I did. And then these other books at the end that I didn't realize I was going to be able to get came up, and I was like, yay. So
Deadpool team up. I'm going to tell you hardcore that I could have just done without this book. That's as mean a review I can give to anything. I'm just going to tell you. I enjoyed Liefeld's art. I enjoyed the witty banter. But the story itself is just kind of like, hey, I want to draw some characters real bad, so I'm going to make up this story.
This is Rob Liefeld's last work at Marvel.
Is it really?
Yes.
Man, Liefeld, he didn't phone it in for art at all, but the story is kind of
I tried real hard to get him to come on to talk about it.
Man, you dude.
But Justin, not just his last Deadpool, his last work at Marvel. At least for now. Like, Marvel could back up a Brinks truck and be like, do some more. And of course he probably would. But his contract is up. He is not contracted to do anything more. And he currently does not have any interest in doing anything more. So I'm going to endeavor, because I know Rob is working on something with a friend of ours that has created a little bit of buzz on the retailer internet. But once I find out more about that particular project, I will attempt to get Mr. Liefeld to come on and talk about that.
Yeah. If you like fringe 90s characters, you might actually love this more than I did, but it's a little bit lost on me. So I apologize. They can't all be for everyone, you know.
Okay, so this came out like a week ago or 2 weeks ago, and we didn't have the PDF, and I was real bummed. And now we have it. And here's what I will tell you about Dick Tracy number 4. The thing I love about Dick Tracy is that the characters, especially the bad guys, are so bumbling and bungling and goofy that it gives you an opportunity to really learn to actually like the bad guys, while also liking Dick Tracy as a detective, right? This is Batman. Like, this is Dick Tracy, the world's greatest detective, and his gal Friday, the world's greatest reporter, and his buddy, the world's okayest, legally not a cop, but pretends to be. But then you have Flat Top and Lips and all of these bad guys that are just like, see, what I'm going to do is, see, I'm going to try and kill Dick Tracy, see? And they're saying it in front of Dick Tracy. Like, they're just not good at being bad guys, but they're really good at being bad guys. And so this issue to me just was a warm blanket of like 1920s and 30s cops and like bad guys, cops and the mob, cops and whatever, out there. This just felt like home for me. I've been reading Dick Tracy since I was a little kid, and it just felt natural and right. And this was so good. I'm excited to see. At this point, I think they're going to have to start veering off of the pre-existent sort of Dick Tracy canon that they've kind of been holding tight to thus far. I think they're going to have to, kind of do one of those things where The Walking Dead did, where it shoots off from the story you expect. And I'm excited to see what they do, because this has been super fun. And you're right. The art for Flat Top, like, is just next level. His eyes, I would honestly say his eyes are crazier than Nemesis, only because his eyes are at least human, whereas I'm not sure Nemesis's are. So, like, you know, it feels like a character from an Adam Sandler movie where his eyes are looking different directions and his head is perfectly flat, but he's got the band of seagulls haircut. Flock of seagulls haircut. Again, just freaking fantastic for me, and I'm in love with this book.
Chasm. Okay, so this is really just like this could be just as equally called and Scarlet Spider book. This really does flesh out these two characters for people that aren't really sure about them. So there were some things that I learned, honestly. So Ben Reilly, he would normally associate with Scarlet Spider, who was Scarlet Spider, is actually Chasm. He's kind of been messed up pretty good. And instead, I'm trying to remember who is the Scarlet Spider character. Kane is the Scarlet Spider character in this. This is you figuring out that Chasm really is super bad. He is a bad guy. In this one, he's doing his own kind of like heisty thing with his girlfriend, who is, I think, it was that new character that was introduced, Hallows Eve, who appears to, their ability is to put a mask on, I think, and become whatever that character is. I don't know where they're getting the masks, but that's kind of cool for a power. So this is their interaction. I like this. I hope this continues on because they seem like pretty good foils for each other. And I don't know, Chasm's colorway is really appealing to me. I like the art for his face.
All right. So this came out a while ago, The Last Warden's #1. And The Last Warden's #2 is out this week. So I wanted to read #1 because I didn't get to when it came out. So I read 1 and 2 this week, which I would not advise because nightmare fuel.
Oh, no.
Guys, there are eyes in places there shouldn't be eyes, just like on the side of walls of houses. There are creatures with like 9 arms and 1 eye. There's a weird ninja lady. There's legally not the Iron Giant because he's made out of rock, but he certainly looks like the Iron Giant. They're the Wardens. And they are protecting the Earth from a thing. What is that thing? I don't really know. It's not 100% clear to me. Maybe if I read these books one at a time, I would have a better understanding. Like if I just gave my brain time to like heal after each one. But in the first issue, we meet our main character, who's there on the cover, whose name I can't remember. I think Danielle, something like that. And she is taking care of her deadbeat alcoholic father, while she should be like in high school. Anyway, her brother has been missing since his I don't know, Castle. It might be a little triggery for some folks. Her brother's battalion was attacked in Vietnam, and he has been MIA, presumed dead for a while. And all of a sudden, he shows up because she and her friends hit him with their car. And turns out, not her brother. Or maybe it is, or maybe it isn't. But the Last Wardens are trying to dispatch whatever this creature is that is inhabiting her brother. And it just consumes their whole house and her father and everything. If for whatever reason it leaves her alone, and she's able to sort of help the Wardens. Now, Jay, is issue #2 next? Or did you split them up? Okay. I don't remember where issue #1 and issue #2 split. So I'm going to stop talking there. And when issue #2 comes up, I'll tell you the rest of what we learned in issues 1 and 2. But to answer Justin Nava's question, borderline, yeah, it is definitely body gore on some level. It is definitely Guys, there are eyes in places there shouldn't be eyes. So if you have whatever that phobia is to like not patterns of non-similar circles, don't read this book. Like, I do not want to be responsible for you guys having to go into a 72-hour psychiatric hold because of a comic book. But this book was so insane and so cool. So it's just not for everybody.
All right, this is a really cool premise for how to tell an 85th anniversary special. This one jumps forward in time. Wolverine, well, we'll just say Logan and the head of Deadpool in the future have gone to this, it looks like maybe it's like a satellite like museum. I don't know. It's like in space, I think, and it's a museum of like at least the part they're touring is about superheroes. So this is literally like if you move forward, like, I don't know, well, let's say at least hundreds of years, long enough to no one is alive anymore that knew any of them, except for the people that can't die, of course, obviously. It is their ideas of what the superheroes did by culling together maybe bits of books or stuff from TV or whatever. I'm not real sure where they got their information from, but they're like, so for instance, they make mistakes like saying that Miss Marvel's scarf was used for scarves were things that people wore for warmth, but also something to eat off of because they misunderstood the idea of the word scarf. Like when you scarf food, they thought that you ate off of, anyway. It is kind of funny. So it's multiple stories about, like they do one that's focused on her. They do one that's focused on Excalibur. I can't remember what the extra ones are, but it's kind of interesting because and then the one that's kind of like almost looks like a samurai-esque, and the art style is kind of like that black, white, and blood style that they did for the samurai things from Marvel before. That was really pretty. But I just like this whole idea of it's like multiple different stories, and you know that all the stories that they're telling are like, this isn't right, but it's kind of cool. You know, in a world if that was the way it really went down. So it's interesting to watch Logan and Deadpool's head to go through all of these things and try not to say anything, and also not get discovered for being actual superheroes. A lot of fun.
Okay. Did I mention talking chickens? There were talking chickens in issue 1.
What?
But we're not sure if they're possessed talking chickens or if chickens can actually talk, and we just never know. It's a whole thing. Anyway, in the second issue, this creature is heading towards the town where these people live, and the wardens and Daniela wind up heading to town to try to fight it off, as it sort of just destroys the whole town. And her friends are safe but not safe, and then safe but not safe. And again, I really do think for the first time in my life, the benefit of having a month between books would have been good for me on this one, because there's just so much to take in. Here's what I will say on this. If you are into the weird, the gory, the absolutely bat crap crazy, this book is for you. If you are triggered by body horror or gore porn or any of that kind of stuff that just, it's a little hard to read, a little hard to watch. If you struggle with like that scene in Alien where the xenomorph comes out of that guy's chest, maybe avoid this one. But if you're not messed up by that, this book is super cool, and I'm interested to see where it goes. Like, is Daniela a warden and doesn't know it? Like, what is this? How is she safe from this thing? How is she able to see the wardens? How is she able to fight with them? Like, there's something that we don't know that we need to know. So I'm interested to see what we find out.
This is the one that's so cool. Okay. as far as I can tell, Hickman is writing this in a not our universe because it doesn't make sense if it is. Maybe different Earth something or other. But in any case, this one kind of starts out with T'Chaka and T'Challa, and maybe T'Challa's son, because there's another named person that's in Panther gear that shows up and is like trying to stop everything that's going on with this research that these, I don't even know what race these people are. They have like weird kind of angled helmets and I don't recognize them, but it's clear that they are taking aliens and purposefully capturing people from different planets and or races and, you know, basically getting the aliens started, and then they're seeding those planets again with the idea of like completely taking them over with aliens. And the point at the beginning of the book is them trying to stop that from happening on Earth, but what we find out later on is that it already happened. They're too late. And the back end of the book is really about the heroes trying to really fight off just to one city. I mean, it's already happened. The Earth has already been infected, and there's one big city that is being protected by the Avengers. And the way that all ends up is wicked cool. Really, really, really cool. I didn't have, you know, like when you mix two things like this together, I'm always like, how in the world are they going to make this be a good book? But I should have just looked at Hickman's name and been like, he knows what he's doing. So this is terrific. You don't have to be someone that likes even aliens at all to enjoy this tale. So figure out how to get a copy of this bad boy. Oh.
This book, the release date was August 7th. I don't know why I didn't read it back then. I apologize. In the part of the world where I am, the existence of the mafia is a terribly kept secret, right? Like, not just Capone, but like the fact that it's still a thing. Is like a really bad kept secret around here. And so when I heard about this book, I got really into it because where I'm at specifically has ties to the organization that this book is about, as well as some well-known organizations and families, not the least of which is Murder Incorporated. If you don't know about Murder Incorporated, do a Google on like maybe an encoded image search or encoded web search so you don't wind up on some kind of list. Oh, right. No!
That's weirdly this thing having problems.
Well, and we have power outages rolling through my area, so I'm glad we're almost done. Anyway,
it's not doing the main store at all. It's just my
maybe your ballast in your light is bad. Anyway, so this book is about the kosher mafia, or the Kosher Nostra, which is a great name. In Cleveland, Ohio. Which was a group of mobsters who were all of the Jewish faith from that area of the world. And they were particularly prominent in the kosher mafia is silencing Jen. They were particularly prominent in the era of pre-World War II and up through World War II. And into the late 1950s, early 1960s. Since then, they've been absorbed by other families and other organizations, if not completely taken apart. Anyway, this is the story of two guys who are involved in the Kosher Nostra. One of them is their version of Whitey Bulger, or if you're into this area of history, there will be some names that you'll come across in reading up on groups like Murder Incorporated that this guy is clearly them. They're the hitman. He's the guy who gets his hands dirty so that the others don't have to. The other character is their accountant, their bookkeeper. The one who makes sure they get paid. And this is a story of the bookkeeper trying to get the organization to stand up to anti-Semitism in the United States in the days leading up to World War I or World War II, as the world started to see what was happening in Germany and Poland and in those areas to people of the Hebrew origins, right? People of the Jewish faith. And the organization really can't, because what we don't need is a war of the Jewish mob versus the German mob. Because that will be bad, especially in Ohio, guys. Just know, historically, that would have been ugly in this area, especially. So they can't really go after the people they want to go after. But, so they kick the bookkeeper out, and this is the story of what happens. How this goes. Our hitman is supposed to do a job. He doesn't necessarily agree with the job, so they kind of take it upon themselves. This is issue 1. I don't have a release date necessarily for issue 2. I will see if I can pull it up right now. Kosher Mafia number 2 is September 18th. Release date, so coming up here in a few weeks. So just be on the lookout for that, guys. This really is just an awesome book. I'm so glad I decided to read that this week, and that it's going to be something we can bring David Hazen on to talk about, because he just messaged me and said he'd love to come on and do an interview. So we're going to do that. Just absolutely, if you can find a copy, pick it up. If you can't, contact your LCS and have them order one for you. All right. So before we get out of here, I need y'all to help me out. Right now, the experience is running a survey for our viewers and our watchers and our friends, getting feedback as we plan for the future of the experience and as we look at what is coming next. So if you could click the link that Jay just put in the comments and fill out the survey, it takes 2 to 3 minutes. And it would really be helpful and informative for us. And if you do it, you get a free copy. Like, there's instructions at the end to get your free copy of Vampirella #1 PDF digital from our friends over at Dynamite. So if you do that, if you fill out the survey, we'd appreciate it. And then you can get your free book. And in the meantime, because it's important to us that you go to your local comic shop, you find a comic shop nearby to you by going to comicshoplocator.com and typing in the numbers of the area where you are, and it will tell you where there are comic shops nearby to you. Give them a ring, because sometimes these sites don't get updated. Make sure their hours are the same. Make sure their activities are the same. Make sure you know what's up before you head in. I'm getting ready to go to Baltimore for an extended period of time, and I'm looking for a temporary LCS. So I put it in to Comic Shop Locator, and it kicks out the 13 different local comic shops that I can go to within 25 miles of where I'm staying in Baltimore, and I will likely go to all of them. So if you could do that, that would be great. Stay tuned in about 5 minutes from now for Mint Hunter Comics here on The Experience. Miss Jen will be over on Comic Book Shopping Network with tomorrow's books today, and selling you books. And then she had a killer wall that I think was going to be part of the show, including first dog pool and some other stuff that I need but I can't buy. And then after Mint Hunter, we have Kicking It with Henry with Honest Henry from Chicago. So we will see everybody tomorrow for all of our great shows here on The Experience, and next week for this show. Later on. Did you know that Arthur, King of the Britons in Monty Python and the Holy Grail was played by a famous Graham? Check out another famous Graham by following our Instagram.